Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take a stack of complex source materials and, well, we extract the essential insights you need to be well-informed fast. Today, we are deep diving into a case study that shows exactly where the cutting edge of professional AI capability meets the blunt force trauma of reality.
We're analyzing a really high-stakes tender submission. This was prepared by a company called ABD LTD for a major London residential construction project. We're talking groundworks, piling, a complex reinforced concrete frame, all for the London and Quadrant Housing Trust, or L&Q.
And that's the critical element here. The entire tender document, the strategic narrative, the professional structure, and even the preliminary cost plan was largely generated with significant AI assistance, specifically Copilot.
Right, so our mission today is a rigorous assessment. We really want to know if AI can successfully generate this kind of critical, high-value professional document that actually stands up to scrutiny. I mean, did it deliver a technically sound and financially viable bid? Or did the impressive structure just mask some crippling financial inconsistencies?
We have the source documents in front of us, the tender excerpts, the AI-generated elemental cost plan, and a detailed comparison against established BCIS benchmarks. So prepare yourself, because we are going to dive into why this submission is structurally magnificent, strategically compliant, and yet it carries a near-fatal million-pound flaw right at its financial core.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the parts of the document that are genuinely impressive. Because if you were a procurement manager at L&Q, just reading those first few sections, ABD LTD looks like the perfect contractor. I mean, the AI absolutely nailed the strategic positioning.
It was phenomenal. The AI demonstrated this ability to absorb L&Q's publicly stated priorities and just
Weave them right in.
exactly weave them seamlessly into the core narrative. And this is where the machine accelerates the process dramatically. It generates that essential contextual awareness.
And they repeatedly hit every major contemporary public sector housing note. You see specific references to the Future Home Standard and a strong focus on modern methods of construction MMC and digital integration, using BIM Level 2 and the common data environment.
It's a huge, often time-consuming administrative hurdle that the AI just cleared instantly.
It really did. It understands the corporate language and the regulatory landscape better than many human writers who might, miss a crucial compliance point.
And structurally, the tender is flawless.
Oh, absolutely. It generated a complete elemental cost plan framework that adhered perfectly to RICS and NRM, the new rules of measurement standards.
So we see the mandatory breakdown, substructure, superstructure services, preliminaries.
All there. That immediate compliance with industry measurement standards is just essential for credibility. It looks like the framework of a serious professional organization.
And it wasn't generic either. The AI sourced these compelling delivery capability narratives.
Right. It cited specific previous projects for London clients. Haringey Council, Family Mosaic, Metropolitan Housing Trust, all in the London housing sector.
That level of detail, I mean, even including specifics like dedicated parking facilities and energy-efficient design, that builds instant evidence-based trust.
It does. And we can't overlook the gatekeeping requirements either. The essential non-negotiables that get a bid disqualified immediately if they're missing.
The AI gathered all that necessary compliance documentation flawlessly. It confirmed full certification for ISO 9001, 14001, and 45001.
Exactly. Plus, the specific industry accreditations you need for public tenders of this scale. Construction Line Gold, CHE, NCS, it's all there. And then they topped it off with robust insurance policies. $10 million for employer's liability, $5 million for professional indemnity. A human team could spend days chasing proof of all this.
But the AI just presented them as a seamless compliant package.
It did. And the added value section was fantastic, too. It articulated strong social value promises, apprenticeships, local labor targets, SME engagement with accelerated payments.
And it even outlined innovation clearly. Digital RAMs, smart logistics planning, detailed BIM integration plans.
So, taken together, this is an exquisitely structured document. It presents ABD LTD as strategic, fully compliant, technically sophisticated, and socially responsible.
If you were that busy procurement manager reading this, you would be thoroughly impressed.
You would. It's the perfect camouflage.
It seems impeccable. So where do we even start looking for a crack in this narrative armor? Because you've told me there is one, and it's not just a crack. It's a failure so fundamental it renders the entire bid unusable.
And here's where it gets really, really interesting. What's fascinating is that while the AI excelled at the presentation and the structure, it failed profoundly on the substance, specifically the quantitative grounding. This is the moment where an expert quantity surveyor or a financial reviewer would just immediately stop reading.
Why?
Yeah.
What's the tell?
Well, the financial inconsistencies are just too severe to proceed. And the AI also relied heavily on these oversimplified, repeated percentage allocations, these tidy little bands of 1 to 4% for various elements.
So that just screams invented data.
It screams invented data rather than benchmarked or calculated data. It knew the categories to include, but instead of pulling real-world data, it basically made up plausible-sounding, clean numbers to fill the blanks.
So it valued the structural completeness of the document over the quantitative accuracy of the output.
Precisely. But the most damaging flaw, I mean, the one that completely destroys the internal logic of the submission, is what I'm calling the pound problem.
The 0 pound problem. Tell us about that, because this is where the contradiction becomes catastrophic.
So the technical narrative explicitly confirmed the project's scope, included groundworks, piling, and a complex reinforced concrete or RC frame for the superstructure. We saw all these references to columns, beams, the complexity of these structural elements.
Yeah.
Yet when you look at the elemental cost plan, element 2A, which is explicitly defined as the structural frame, was allocated a value of £0.
Wait, 0?
Zero.
That's astonishing. The AI, which was sophisticated enough to handle BIM Level 2 compliance and mention CDEs, completely zeroed out the single most expensive structural element of the building.
I know. It suggests a fundamental decoupling between the AI's language model, which can describe complex structures flawlessly, and its cost model,
Right.
which failed to integrate the described scope into the quantitative framework,
So it talked the talk.
but couldn't price the walk.
Yeah.
When I saw element 2A at 0, I had to stop and check the source document twice. In decades of reviewing tenders, I have never seen a contradiction this fundamental. It's a non-executable tender.
And the errors didn't stop there, did they? This omission set a precedent for other critical elements being understated or just missed entirely.
Absolutely. The building services section, element 5, was minefield. Elements 5B, services equipment, 5E, the heat source, 5H, electrical installations. All of them were allocated either £0 or were just missing sufficient scope.
You can't build a residential tower in London without heating, power, or ventilation.
You can't. It means the price proposed by ABD LTD wasn't just low, it was completely detached from reality. It effectively zeroed out the entire mechanical and electrical infrastructure required for, human habitation.
The omission just exposes the project to potentially astronomical cost overruns.
And we also see it in the preliminaries element 7. This covers essential site setup, welfare, construction management, staff salaries.
Yeah.
For a complex, constrained urban site like this London build, the preliminaries were significantly understated.
Another major underestimation of operational risk.
A huge one. So we have structural and service elements zeroed out, management costs severely underestimated.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the AI, despite its sophisticated narrative, didn't provide project-specific details where they really mattered.
Right. It listed all the BCIS categories, but when it came to the specifics of the scheme,
Like the precise type of internal partitions you need for sound dampening, or the specific model of lift installation, they were either omitted or just described vaguely. It prioritized that structural completeness over detailed fidelity.
And what about delivery? The AI talks a good game about BIM and lean construction conceptually, but where's the operational proof?
Exactly. The tender was missing that crucial operational documentation. There was no program chart, no timeline, no phase plan was included.
In a high-stakes bid, you have to demonstrate readiness.
You have to. And crucially, key personnel, like the project manager or the commercial lead, they weren't identified by name or experience. And that just weakens the perceived readiness of ABD LTD.
Which brings us to the critical conclusion about the AI's utility in these high-stakes professional fields. It's clear it cannot operate independently. It needs a highly skilled human professional to intervene.
And that human oversight has to be substantial. The AI is a powerful support tool, absolutely. It can accelerate the creation of structure and narrative quality, potentially shaving weeks off that initial administrative process. But it requires an experienced quantity surveyor to validate the assumptions, correct those fabricated rounded figures, and most critically to ensure that element 2A, the structural core, isn't zeroed out. The human must be the quantitative anchor.
The path forward for ABD LTD, as it's detailed in the source, is an immediate and transparent reconciliation workshop with L&Q.
They have to. They have to confirm the full specification, rapidly correct the fundamental cost omissions, and then submit a detailed final price that's actually market aligned.
Derived from real benchmarking, not the AI's plausible approximation. The compliance camouflage has been lifted.
And they've moved from presenting a flawless document to having to transparently admit they need to raise their price significantly to reflect reality. That is a difficult conversation to have at the tender stage.
And that is the core lesson for you, the listener. In high-stakes professional fields, AI can provide structural perfection, strategic alignment, and impeccable narrative coherence. It excels at telling the client exactly what they want to hear.
It currently lacks the capacity for integrated technical accuracy and quantitative grounding. The machine can generate the template, but the professional still must be the one to bridge that gap.